get started. Hello and welcome. My name is Shannon. My pronouns are they, them. And today we have a 60-minute restorative class focusing on release through the hips and low back. Although everybody is different and you may feel these postures in different parts of your body, and that is totally normal and totally okay. So, we can come into whatever posture we would like for our starting position. I would like to remind folks who don't like to be reclined that we can create a ramp either by taking our blocks and placing one in the high position and one in the low position, or stacking pillows or blankets and taking either our bolster or our bed pillows and resting them against the support and reclining back. And we can make this as high or as low as we like. But if congestion or it just doesn't feel comfortable to be reclined, we can use this for any of our reclined postures today, with the exception of Stonehenge, but I'll give you an alternate posture for that. So, hi, Kelly. Hi, E. Hi, Austin. Yay. So glad. So, whatever posture we would like for our grounding, we can be reclined, we can be seated comfortably, whatever feels good. If we're in the chair, we might have our feet grounded on the mat, and we might lean against the back of the chair. But we'll find whatever position feels comfortable for us. And if we like, we might close our eyes or find a soft gaze. We can have an eye pillow over the eyes if that's comfortable, maybe covered with a blanket. And we'll take a few deep breaths, maybe in through the nose, out through the mouth, releasing with a sigh or vocalization. Doing our best to let go of the day so far. And when we have taken as many of these breaths as feels comfortable, we might find our natural breath, whatever that looks like today. And we might notice how it feels as we settle into a comfortable breath. We might notice if we feel this more in the heart space or the belly. We might notice if we're breathing in through the nose or the mouth, if we're breathing out through the nose or the mouth. No judgment, no attachment, witnessing where we are in this moment. We might release our awareness on the breath and start to notice how we feel in the rest of our body, with as much or as little attention to detail as feels comfortable, as feels right in this moment. And if we are noticing areas that maybe are particularly sore or tight or tender today, we'll make a note of those areas so that we can be as kind to ourselves as possible. And if we notice anywhere that is uncomfortable or anywhere that needs to move or stretch, we can offer that for ourselves as we continue to ground down and settle in to the space, allowing ourselves to arrive. We might notice those areas making contact with the mat or the floor or the bed or the chair, and allow ourselves to rest heavy through those spaces, connecting us down through the object, through the floor, all the way down into the earth today. No matter how far beneath us the earth is today. Noticing all those areas we normally tighten up and hold together, and seeing if on our next exhale we can let them be soft, we can let them be heavy, and we can let them be held. Held by the earth beneath us. Excuse me. Noticing that connection to the earth, and through the earth, that connection to all of those other people that we care for, that care for us, that are resting on the same earth. Knowing that no matter how far apart we are today, we are connected. We might begin to notice our thoughts, whether we have a lot kind of flowing through our mind, whether they're fast, whether they're soft. Again, we're not trying to judge, just observing as best we can. And in this moment, and maybe throughout our practice, we might notice those thoughts kind of tugging our attention, pulling us away. And that's okay. That's what thoughts do. But if we do want to bring ourselves back into the current moment, we can always focus on our breath or sensation in the body. Or we can choose to follow the thought and allow this space to be a container for us to do that. There's no wrong answers. There's just what we need in this moment. And when we're ready, we might start to bring a little bit of movement back into the body, maybe through the hands and feet, the head and neck. If we're reclined, we might gently begin to roll onto the right or left side, taking our time, and maybe slowly pressing up into a seated position. Any seated position that's comfortable for us today. And although we're going to be focusing mostly on the hips and back, I would like to do a little bit of movement for the neck and shoulders. At least for me, I notice that these areas are sometimes kind of joined. When I hold stress in one, I usually hold stress in the other. So we'll start with a few gentle movements through the head and neck. So again, any seated position that feels comfortable, but we might want to be seated more upright rather than leaning back, unless that support is something that we really need today. So we'll start by bringing the chin over the right shoulder, or as close to it as feels comfortable. And we'll take a few deep breaths here, noticing the sensation through the side of the face, the side of the neck, the shoulder, anywhere else that calls out to us, as we continue to breathe in a way that feels comfortable. And then we'll come back through center. We might bring the chin over the opposite shoulder again, noticing the opposite side of the face, neck, and shoulder. Noticing if it feels the same, if it feels different. Again, no judgment. And then coming back through center. We might gently tilt the right ear over the right shoulder, letting the left shoulder be heavy. If we like, we can let the hand rest on the ground. We can even tuck it under the thigh or bum if we want to help it stay low. And finding a few comfortable breaths here. Beautiful. When we're ready, we might lift the right hand, gently assist the head back through center. And we'll do the same thing on the opposite side. So left ear over left shoulder, right arm low, nice and heavy. And again, just noticing the difference between the two sides. We might gently assist the head back through center. Beautiful. It's just a little bit of release there. Maybe a few shoulder rolls up and back. Reversing it back and up. Beautiful. And now we'll come into our first supported posture. So for our first supported posture, we'll be coming into constructed rest. So again, we can use our bolster and our blocks or our stack of pillows if we would like to not be fully reclined. And then we'll follow the cues for the rest of the body. If we're seated in the chair, if we have something in front of us that we can lift our feet up onto and keep the knees raised, and that feels comfortable, that is something we can do. Or we can have the feet on the ground, maybe on pillow, bolster, block, something to raise the feet a little. And then let ourselves recline back against the back of the chair. I'm just going to move those props out of the way for a moment. And I'm going to come into a reclined position. Again, we can be reclined against our bolster ramp. We can have a blanket handy if we like to throw over the lower half of the body if that feels comfortable. But once we're reclined, we're going to place the feet against the ground, lift the knees. I like to take a moment to kind of adjust so that I feel comfortable. Hands can be out to the sides or against the body. And then I'm going to slowly bring the knees towards each other as I move the feet out towards the edges of the mat. So some folks like to have a block between the knees. I usually find that throwing a blanket over the legs is enough to help them stay together. And once we've found the position that feels the most comfortable for us, we might take a few deep breaths, maybe in through the nose, out through the mouth. With our exhale, allowing ourselves to rest against the support of the mat, the bolster, the bed, the chairs. Making any little micro adjustments we need to be a bit more comfortable, whether it's slowly bringing the feet a little bit closer together or further apart. Remember, it's your practice. You have the ability to tailor it to yourself. Everything I offer is a suggestion. And we'll be here for the next 4 minutes or so. When we're ready, we'll slowly return to the breath, noticing our inhale and exhale. We can slowly start to walk the feet towards each other, removing a block if we placed it between the thighs. We'll take a few maybe windshield wipes, lowering the knees towards one side and then the other. Just bring a little bit of movement back into the low back. Beautiful. From here, we're going to transition into supine tree or reclined tree. So for this, we might want to have a extra pillow, blanket, or block handy. We're going to start on the right side, so you can have your block, pillow, anything you need on the right side. We're going to straighten out the left leg, and then we'll slowly lower the right knee towards the ground on the right side. And this is where we can place our block, our pillow, our bolster beneath the knee so that we can find a position that feels comfortable. So by comfortable, we can choose maybe to have a little bit of pull on the inner line of the leg if that feels good and like something we need. But we want to dial in. We always want to err on the side of offering more support rather than less. The more support we have, the more our body gets the message that we're in a safe position, and we'll start to release and relax. And if we want to pull it out later, we always can. But generally, I find it's best to start with a little bit more support if we aren't quite sure. If we like, we can also bring the sole of the right foot against the left leg. If that doesn't feel comfortable, then we'll bring it wherever it does feel comfortable. Now, if we're seated in the chair, we'll bring the soles of the feet to the ground, and we can open the right leg up as if we're doing a wide-legged position, but just on the right side, as far as is comfortable. If we like, we can even roll the foot so that we're resting on the outer edge of the foot, but that's only if that feels comfortable. Otherwise, we'll come into a kind of half wide-legged position. Beautiful. Our hands again can be out to the sides, they can be against the body, whatever feels comfortable. And we'll be here for the next 3 minutes or so. When we're ready, we'll slowly return to the breath. We'll transition to the other side. I like to lift the knee and place the foot back on the ground, and then raise the opposite knee. So I have both feet on the ground, come through a quick windshield wipe, and then straighten out the right leg. I can move my props to the opposite side. So if we need our blanket, bolster, block, and then slowly lower the left knee down to the ground on the left side. Again, we can bring the sole of the foot into the right leg if we like. If we're seated, we'll go ahead and bring the the right leg back in, and then we can open the left leg out towards the left side, making any adjustments that feel comfortable. And we'll be here for the next 4 minutes. When we're ready, we can gently return to the breath. We might lift the left leg, lift the right knee so that both feet are on the ground. Again, we might take a windshield wipe, lowering the knees to the right, to the left, as many times as feels comfortable. And then when we're ready, if we are laying on our back, fully reclined, we might gently roll off to the right side. If we are on our supported bolster, we might stretch the legs out. If we are seated, we can bring both of our legs together to a neutral position. If we are lying on our right side, we might grab our bolster or an extra blanket and place that behind us as we prepare to come into a gentle twist. So for this twist, if we like, we can have our arms stretched out in front of us. I am going to be resting my head against my arm, so it's actually laying above me. Or if we like, we can be using an extra blanket or bolster or as a pillow, whatever feels comfortable. If we have our support behind us, we may or may not use it. So it's there in case we need it, but if we don't need it, that's okay too. So our option here is we can have our legs stacked if that feels comfortable. We might have the top of the leg kind of folded over, the top leg folded over the bottom leg, as if our legs were crossed when we were sitting in a chair. So whatever feels comfortable. And then whenever we're ready, we can start to bring our left shoulder back towards the mat. And we might adjust at this point, maybe bringing the arm forward to so that it's kind of in front of the body. And we can adjust our support behind us so that it's supporting the shoulder. The shoulder might come to the mat. If that's the case, we can push any support away. But if it's hanging in the air, we want to make sure that we get that blanket, that bolster behind us so that we feel supported. And we'll be here for the next few minutes. If we don't like being reclined and we're using our ramp, it's going to look a little different for us. We might, again, bring both the feet to the ground, raising the knees. If we like, we can cross the left foot onto the right knee. I like to actually lower my right knee and then bring my left foot in front or over at that point rather than crossing it while they're raised. But if they are raised, you can lower the left foot towards the right side of the body, towards the ground. In this, again, we might need a little extra support. So sometimes I'll bring my hand against the low back so that I have that feedback. And that feels much more comfortable for me. If you have another folded blanket, you could place it in that spot as well. Hand can be by the side, it can be stretched out. I like it next to me so it kind of props up the upper body. And we'll be here for a few minutes. If we are seated in a chair, we can bring the right hand behind the body or against the back of the chair. Place the left hand against the inner line of the left thigh and begin to open the shoulders up towards the right side of the body, taking a few deep breaths here. And we can stay here if that feels comfortable. We can also maybe lean back towards the back of our, I'm going to move this behind me as if it's the back of the chair. We can also lean back a bit if that feels comfortable as well. I am glad you provided support for yourself as well, Kelly. So whatever position we're in, we're going to be here for the next 2 minutes or so. And remember, we can adjust the body as we need. We can bring the belly in between the thighs. We can, if we're, excuse me, if we're on our ramp, sometimes even it can be helpful to maybe have some support on the side of us under the belly, especially if we have an apron belly that might hang to the side. The one thing that I hope everyone is able to take from the restorative classes is that you deserve rest. And part of that is being comfortable in your rest, taking whatever supports you need, and knowing that you deserve all of them, every single bit of comfort. We're not just here to make everybody else comfortable. We deserve that same amount of comfort as well. Super glad that's helpful, Austin. I always like those little audible noises. They'll let me know that I'm releasing what I need to be. So if we are reclined, we can go ahead and roll back onto the right side. We can move our props so that they're in front of us. And then we have a couple choices. We can roll over onto the left side, or we can slowly press ourselves up and lie on our left side, whatever way feels comfortable. And then again, we'll begin to open the shoulders up, reaching the shoulders back towards the mat, making sure that we have as much or as little support on this side as we need, and it may be completely different than what's on the other side. That is okay. If we are in our ramp position, we can again roll back. We can stretch the legs out if it's easier or more comfortable to stretch the legs out and then roll onto the back. And then we can choose from the same options to then come on to the left side. And finally, if we're seated, we'll go ahead and gently release the arms, float forward, take any movement we need here, and then bring the left hand towards the back, right hand against the right leg and begin to open the shoulders up towards the right side. Again, we can lean back against the support of the chair and take a few deep breaths here before finding our natural breath, and we'll be here for the next 2 minutes or so. Excuse me. And when we are ready, if we're seated in our chair, we might release the hands gently, float forward. If we are in our supported position, we might stretch the legs out, gently roll onto the back. And if we are lying directly on the mat, we might gently roll back onto the left side. We'll take a moment in this position, and then whenever we are ready, if we are reclined or supported, we'll gently roll to whatever side feels comfortable and slowly press up into a seated position. Taking our time, we'll set ourselves up for our next posture. I'm going to take a moment in between to do a couple of seated cat-cows just to help the back kind of reset itself a little bit. So whatever position feels comfortable, feet together, knees apart. We can be cross-legged. Our legs can be in an outstretched position. If we're seated in a chair, our feet can be against the ground. But we'll start with a nice neutral spine, lifted crown. On our inhale, we'll shine the heart forward, roll the shoulders back, gaze up. Cow. Exhale, round the spine, chin to chest, cat. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. We can do this 2 more times on our own breath. And then we'll find our neutral spine again. Beautiful. So from here, I'm going to show folks the options for Stonehenge. And then I'll demo for people who don't want to be reclined and people who are seated. So I personally am kind of done with reclined postures today. I just realized that I feel a little dizzy, probably just because I didn't get enough water today. So I'm going to show and explain, but I won't be demoing because, like I said, I'm kind of done being reclined today. So if we are practicing Stonehenge, we can do this with blocks and a bolster, or we can do it by bringing our legs up onto a chair, couch, table. If we are using our blocks and our bolster, we'll create a table, placing our blocks in the bottom and our bolster across the top. We can also stack pillows until they reach a height that feels comfortable, or stack blankets. Like I said, no wrong way. And then what we can do is lay down on our side and then gently roll onto the back, lifting the legs up onto the support. It's up to you whether it feels more comfortable to have the ankle area supported or right behind the knee and the calf supported. Really depends on your body and what feels comfortable for you. If you're not feeling like you want to be reclined, we also have the option for Baddha Konasana, or Supta Baddha Konasana, reclined Baddha Konasana. You can do it with the bolster directly on the mat, or my favorite, creating our ramp and reclining back against the ramp. If we are in a chair, we are also going to be practicing Supta Baddha Konasana. So for this, we can have the feet on the chair or table in front of us, or on a bolster on the floor, resting on the outer edges of the feet so that the knees are coming into this kind of diamond shape. It'll look a little different if your feet are on the ground, but we want to make sure we feel comfortable. And then we'll recline back against the back of the chair. We might have a rolled blanket around the neck for support behind the neck. Or we can lean back against our bolster, place the soles of the feet together, knees apart. Again, this is another position where it might be helpful to have a couple of blankets or extra blocks or pillows to place under the knees if we're feeling a lot of tension through the inner line of the leg or the outer line of the leg. We can throw a blanket over the lower half of the body, maybe wrap it around the feet if that feels comfortable. We have lots of options here, so get as comfy as you like. And we'll slowly recline back. Again, maybe taking a few deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth if that feels helpful. And we'll be here for the next 5 minutes or so. And as always, if none of these feel comfortable, let me know and I will find you another position. When we're ready, we'll slowly return to the breath. From here, we're going to transition to whatever we would like for our final resting position. If we're comfortable where we are right now and really enjoy the position we're in, we can stay here. We can also, if we are in our Baddha Konasana, we might stretch the legs out, maybe put a pillow or blanket beneath the knees, coming into a supported Shavasana. If we're in our Stonehenge, we might gently roll off to the right or left side, and then we can adjust our props to come into whatever position we like, maybe putting our bolster on the ground underneath the knees, moving the blocks out of the way. We can cover ourselves with a blanket. We can put on our eye pillow. If we're seated, we can again maybe plant both feet on the ground or lift them so that they're straight on the chair in front of us, again coming into a Shavasana or supported Shavasana position, or any other position that is speaking to us today. And once we do find our position, we might take a few moments to make ourselves as comfortable as possible. Again, maybe taking a few deep breaths, maybe in through the nose, out through the mouth, allowing ourselves to rest against the support of the props, the bed, the chair, the earth. And we might begin to notice the Annamaya Kosha, or the physical body. Noticing the body as a whole, the weight of the hips, the length of the spine, the gentle settling of the arms and legs. We might feel the points of contact with the mat, the floor, or the props supporting us. Here we can soften into that support, allowing the muscles to release and letting the bones be held by the earth. We'll move next into the energy body, or the pranamaya kosha, by bringing our awareness to the breath. Noticing the natural rhythm, the inhale, the exhale, without feeling the need to change it or adjust. We might sense the breath as a tide flowing in and out of the body. We also might notice it as a gentle current, moving from the base of the spine to the crown of the head and back again. Breath as nourishment, breath as connection. We might move into the Manomaya Kosha. Excuse me. From here, we can notice the tone of the mind. Are our thoughts quick or slow? Maybe rather than thoughts, we have emotions that are present. Maybe they're soft, they're bright, they're heavy, spacious. Nothing to fix, only witness. Like watching clouds pass through an open sky. We rest in knowing that whatever here is welcome. We'll move into, excuse me, the Vinayamaya Kasha. We might invite the quiet part of ourselves to simply that part that simply knows, that inner witness who notices breath, the thoughts, the sensations, that part of us that doesn't judge, that doesn't push or pull, the part that simply is. Inviting ourselves to rest with the steady awareness for a few breaths. And finally, allowing ourselves to touch that deep place of ease beneath it all. It might feel like peace. It might feel like spaciousness. Or it might feel like nothing at all. Only the simple sweetness of being here, held, whole, and complete in this moment. We'll rest here for the next 4 minutes or so. If we're ready to return, we can begin with small movements. Maybe a wiggle of the toes, roll of the shoulders. We might take a deeper breath in and a slow, easy, relaxed breath out. We can remain where we are if we are comfortable here, but we might slowly begin to roll off to the right or left side, taking as much time as we need in this transitional position. Maybe eventually beginning to press up into a seated position if we choose. from wherever we are. We might bring our hands to heart center or place our hands anywhere against the body that feels good. And we'll take 3 breaths together in a way that feels comfortable for us. We might take a moment to thank ourselves for making space tonight. Space for ourselves, space for rest, space for comfort. And I'd like to thank you so much for sharing your practice with me. It really means so much, more than you will ever know. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, a wonderful rest, and hopefully I'll see you all next week.